Yes, video, graph science. Not too much science, I'm afraid. These comments are not very scientific, unfortunately. So it's going to be more arguing about style, I guess, and the difficulty of communicating anything to anyone, and the idea of what is or is not appropriate arrogance or confidence. Um, Certainly, it can be argued that it's a delicate, difficult line to draw. I'm very confident the theory of evolution is the correct answer to any question regarding why we are here. That a God is the silly answer to that question, just vacuously empty, just irrational. It's so unfact founded. It's just such a bad theory, the God theory, by comparison to the evolutionary theory. The God theory just doesn't have anything going for it at all. It's almost an anti-theory in that you could mock it for its totally fantasy character. That all the characters are fantasy characters and they all have superpowers and all that silly shit. Immaculate conceptions and just silly. Rising dead people and whatnot. Full of just bullshit. And then in this conversation, you could say about science that people are very devoted to theories, and certainly the competition isn't as stark. You can't say the evidence on one side is so much stronger than the evidence on the other side or any of that. But through reasoning, it seems there are some people who have cause to be confident and people who have no cause to be confident. Now, to say the establishment has no cause, and anyone who finds any line, a straighter line can be drawn because there's so many crooked lines in the existing theories. But I guess that's part of it, is that this isn't about one question. Like religion's about one question. This is has a lot of questions. So you can argue about elements of it without arguing about some fundamental theory. Some all-encompassing. It's not an all-encompassing accusation. I mean, once you say evolution's the truth, it's kind of all-encompassing. You've said the God thing is nonsense. Evolution isn't going to make a God, so blah, 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 all that stuff. So you're closing doors on a whole bunch of stuff, where arguments in physics don't have to close every door. In spite of the fact that people want to force the argument to do that, they want to say because they have math in their physics, if you're against their physics, you're against math. That kind of absolute crap. So anyway, let's just go through some of this shit. I have the comment section on Piro's video loaded too, in case we get to it. But just such crap. So the Alex guy says, I agree, which I don't know whether that's a useful comment. Unless you're assuming that you're Alex the Great and somehow you're qualified, and I'm really impressed that you agree with me. But considering that I don't know anything about you and I have no reason to say you're qualified to even have an opinion, your opinion isn't very valuable. Sorry. I mean, it's better than saying I disagree, so thank you for that. But otherwise, it just isn't very helpful. And then the useless tuna says, Brona Tana, Alex, about what? And then the male sentient void says, yes, circumcision is mutilation. So I guess apparently he's one of those people with a little stinky, skanky dick defending his little, his natural, condition. His religion, the religion of the foreskin. All must bow to the precious foreskin. Oh, yeah. So, just wonder sometimes. Post, yes, pigs are as smart as dogs. And I don't know. So, what's your argument? They're not. Then you're really stupid. But either way, you're blocked. Thank you. Goodbye. So then the scientific Lee guy. All right. So he gets his inspirations from God. which is really like I said, it's sort of a slander to sit there and use the name scientifically when you're not really doing the scientific method. You're doing the God told me so method. So right there I take points off because you're sort of lying. You really don't like science if you like God. Sorry, just can't do both. So anyway, he has his own agenda. He posts, I don't know, 7 comments on my video on, one of them to the Theora guy. And, my argument to you is, should I post 7 comments on every video you make about the Theora guy spouting my own theory and telling you where you're wrong? I mean, if that's going to be the fair exchange, I don't think it's very productive, but is that what you're saying? I have permission to pile a bunch of comments onto your videos talking about how you're wrong in some vague way where I just say you're wrong? I mean, it's just useless. So he says flares of force. I don't know why that's in quotes, flares, but anyway. Like from a rocket engine, the exhaust from electricity. So this idea that electricity isn't anything but a symptom is really idiotic. Like electricity produces something or does something. No. Electricity is the byproduct. It's the consequence of the movement, not the cause of it. And he says, one inside, one outside. And some sort of smiley face. If that makes any sense to anyone. As energy passes through, filtered. Yeah, it's just doesn't say anything to me. That's part of this conversation is going to be about. I had a little spat with whatever his name is, and and his accusation that I should somehow go look through the internet to go find all the other nutters out there that are talking about physics, and somehow do it on like 1920 internet technology. Apparently that's where all the smart people are, is they're still using their dial-up modem to have text conversations. So the idea of having a text conversation about physics does seem a little exhausting, I would think. You'd never be able to type all the detail without writing a book. You can't defend your arguments completely. I just don't see it as being at all productive in this modern era where we should be able to describe what we're talking about, draw a picture of it, say, here, what do you do with this? And then get a reply that has something to do with what you proposed, instead of just some sort of casual piece of nothing. It doesn't say anything about anything. The exhaust from electricity. I mean, the hyperboloid perforates. I'm just saying, if you think that means something to me, it doesn't. But anyway, so this is part of the. I mean, I really just don't see any point. If you're just going to type a sentence, it's probably better you just don't bother. There's just no way you're going to say anything meaningful to me in a sentence. I just don't see that happening. He is just a parrot every video. If I say it long enough, people must believe it. He puts that in quotes, but clearly it's not necessarily a quote. So you're sort of using quotes the wrong way. Quotes are supposed to be actual quotes. But yes, clearly it's part of Ken Wheeler's style to just keep enforcing the idea. And maybe that does work on some people. I mean, dumb people, and there's a lot of them. So anyway, but it's not really a useful comment. Light has to spiral through glass. Correct, he says. So he's correct. He's saying I'm correct because I did this. The light could be doing this. The light could be doing square geometry. So this whole spirals are just as, in my opinion, just as dangerous as, once you give an inch, then they take a mile and start spiraling everything. Everything's a spiral graph. Spirals are kind of a nuanced movement, and so I would say that the basic, what I'm basically arguing for is a simple elemental diagram, and circles it's like a little retard trying to draw, square is a lot easier than circle. And I think this truth in the elemental nature of matter is that, yes, circles are a little bit complicated. So they probably don't do too much of that. So anyway. But, this kind of style thing just doesn't work for me, buddy. You telling me when I'm correct really isn't going to mean anything to me. I have to have built up quite a good deal of respect for your opinion to be impressed by that, And as I pointed out, you already fail on like the character scale by the pretense of using this name scientifically when you're a religious kook. It's really not playing cricket. It's playing snicket or picket. It's some weaselly version of cricket. Alright, now he says, heat occurs due to buildup of energy. That doesn't mean anything. We know that heat has components, and they're either movement itself or infrared radiation, which causes movement, causes electrons to run away and that kind of stuff, causes pressure. So again, it's not some magical energy. We can actually describe the actual energy, which is, if I poke something and it vibrates, we can follow that. It's not just a mystical energy, it had a source. It's sourcing that's really important here. Cause and effect. Alright, due to the buildup of energy in the glass, heat occurs. That doesn't make much sense considering how good an insulator glass is. So, I don't know where you're going with this one. In the glass and subsequent release contains more light. You can't make light in glass with heat. Generally speaking, unless you get the glass super, super, super hot. More light equals energy due to Lorenzo force contraction of the matter. Says you, and bullshit. Some matter doesn't contract, some expands. Different kinds of molecules behave differently. So again, we're getting to chemistry, which the other guy is focused on, which is fine, but I'm really not doing chemistry, although I think a lot of chemistry needs to be redone, especially how they model the bonds, because they never really account for them. They really never show the energy that's holding things together. The little pegs between the balls are really important, and they don't emphasize the importance of those little pegs. So more is held than released as a radiation wave. So more is held than released as a radiation wave. And you think that shit's going to work on me? Or what? That's convinced me of something? A radiation wave? What the fuck is that? Which now contains more light. Whatever. Says you. And I think only you. I'm not sure though. But yeah, no, that's not an argument. That's a declaration. Your declarations are kind of unwelcome. God did it. Yeah, you type that on my video and see how long that lasts. The photon is created by energy through matter. It's saying really incredibly nothing. Obviously, photons are in the universe, and the only way they can get there is they have to be created, or they have to always exist. And I would argue that the photon wasn't created by energy. The photon always existed, and all it's done is released. That's all. Energy goes in, and photon comes out. And the energy that went in probably was a photon. Ton went in, ton went out. Not that complicated. No creation involved. Photons don't exist without energy flow. See, that means absolutely nothing again, this whole energy flow thing. Where physics is way beyond that now. You just can't get away with saying something like energy flow. That's just like, that's 1700s kind of physics. You have to detail what you mean by energy flow. Energy in what form? it's just bullshit. It's just mush. Alright, last one. Yeah, he blocked me now for trying to insert my work from God into his retarded reciprocating magical object. Yeah, well, if you're doing this on his videos, I can't blame him. I'm not going to block you, but I'm just going to tell you, if that's your style, it will get you blocked eventually, because it's bullshit. Like I said, you're not making an argument. You're not presenting evidence of something. Even your videos have some evidence, but they're your interpretation. And I might play some of that, because you interpret what you see when you put ferrofluid and you watch it flow, to another pile of ferrofluid, and what you're seeing, you have an interpretation of. But there's plenty of other ways to explain what's happening, and you should account for those. Because, in my opinion, the other ways are more reasonable descriptions than your magical blobs of blobbiness. Anyway, obviously he messed up. Whatever. One of my last videos, his incompetence. Well, whatever. I'm not too sure how competent you are either, this whole human interaction thing. Alright. So, Piro. So, one of his comments will get him blocked. I'll just read it real quick, but I'll respond to it on the Amendum channel, because it really has nothing to do with this physics stuff. My victim is at peace. He's talking about his dead daughter. Remember, ? Your victims are starving, blind, and tick-ridden. So, I somehow made the abandoned cats that I feed. They're my fault. I voted for it when I voted against it. Explicitly, and yet he blames it on me. Somehow it's my victim, not my victim, Spiro. Not even close. There is stuff that will keep ticks and fleas off cats. Yeah, I know that, and it's maybe you should have used some on your children. If you're so confident, it's perfectly good. I gave it to one of my cats 4 years ago. And for 2 years, all the cat's fur disappeared, and the cat was dying. So, you want to tell me it's not associated or related? Maybe it isn't. But this is one of the problems with your glib and superficial way of looking at the world. You don't take any responsibility for, well, maybe that shit is allergic. Some cats are allergic. Maybe it's, not a good thing. Maybe it's dangerous. And maybe you should be aware of that before you go spreading it like peanut butter. But anyway, I do apply it to the cat with the long fur. So he doesn't even understand that I apply it to the cat with the long fur. And I'm not complaining about the animals that might give me ticks. I'm sure that might happen, but I might get them from the environment. It doesn't really matter. I never made an accusation beyond just saying there's some jeopardy for me feeding cats every morning and every night, interacting with them, having them, I don't get the two feral ones I don't pet much, the two more feral ones, because the one cat I haven't touched in 17 years. It's been coming for food for 17 years, and I can't pet it. It still doesn't trust humans. But anyway, so I treated the long-haired cat, even though I don't like the fact that it's a little risky. So what's the point of this mush? Your comment is disgusting. My victim is at peace. Every victim is at peace, you retard. Everyone dies. It's not the subject. You kook. So anyway, so I said more than I wanted to say on it. It has nothing to do with anything but his problem, not my problem. He's a stupid, reckless pig, and he just keeps making rationalizations for it. I didn't make my children, the sperm did it. He's an idiot. So why do you think this comment is useful? Why do you think the scientific establishment, full of liars for centuries? Okay, so I've never said they were liars, right? So he's just lying overtly, just a grotesque lie. And clearly I said Newton was a great scientist. Where did I say Newton lied about anything? Lots of good scientists in history. The Curies, lots of them. Lots of good scientists doing good science for centuries. I've said that. So he lies about my position, He lies about what I'm critiquing, which is the sloppiness of modern science, the reckless jump on the bandwagon attitude, the lack of attention they pay to any details, smeetails. That's what I've critiqued. So, full of liars for century will respond to your system and see it's correct. So my expectations for the scientific establishment, whatever that is that they will act in their self-interest. And as is not their self-interest to say, whoops, boy, we sure been fucking you for the last, 50 years talking bullshit. Man, I just totally bought into a big pile of crap, didn't I? They're not going to admit they jumped on the wrong bandwagon and were selling tickets on the wrong bandwagon. That's a kind of a dismal thing to have to admit that whoa, big mistake. They're not going to likely want to out each other on what a farce they've been, and a fraud in the sense of they've walked around feeling all proud and superior, and their evidence is shit. It's a false glory. They didn't earn it the hard way. So I don't have an expectation that they will. So my only expectation is that eventually the truth wins, is sort of my argument. The good guys and the white hats will eventually win. And it just depends on how many black hatters like you are in the way before they get there. But yeah, it's a very tough task, and I pointed out how for hundreds of years we got saddled with bad science and religious science because there wasn't enough people to defend the truth. And that's just the simple truth. People kept saying the authorities must know what they're talking about. They must know what they're talking about. They must be right. They must be right. And no one was willing to admit they were fucking wrong. And that's a real problem. But anyway, so yeah, and clearly they haven't set up any mechanisms to be challenged, the establishment. It really has ivory towered itself from any opportunity to be exposed as being naked emperors. And certainly that's my accusation. You want to say I think modern physics has got a bunch of prancing naked emperors, Michio Kaku and Degrassi Tyson and the rest of these pompous nitwits, and fine. But I haven't accused them of lying. I've accused them of being recklessly stupid. I mean, just sloppy stupid. Yeah, that's the word. Sloppily stupid. Alright, spin mechanism. Do I want to get into this crap? Okay, so this guy asked the question. Teachers told me, yes, I already did that. Alright, so here's, oh dear, there's so many of these extra bits. So I already responded to the James McGrin, and there's just a ton of this crap between him and Benatar, who I did block, but he's probably back as something else. Let me see, I can block that. I can just keep hitting the hide button until it gets hidden, I guess. Anyway, stupid scroll. Windows 10 sucks. Alright. So, sorry. Technical difficulty, we'll call it. Alright, so the James McGrin guy typed this comment. And, Gary, I think you have to get out of your bubble and look around every once in a while. Yeah, I have. I've gone to physics forums, I've looked around on the internet trying to find somebody who's willing to have some kind of disciplined, reasoned argument about the elemental, established premises of physics. And just poke at that a little bit and say, well, look, we have these theories. Are there any other better explanations than bending, nothing, and all that kind of crap? If it's all ether, then let's figure it's one kind of ether. I mean, the idea of different fields of ether does seem a little bit, that can't be right. Anybody want to talk about it? And no one does. They just want to do this troll thing. you know, start talking about their foreskin. Okay. You are not the only person on this planet that has an advanced theory. I don't have an advanced theory. It's my whole argument. So, it's just even your use of that rhetoric. Like it's too, it's like Ken Wheeler talk almost. You dummies can't get it, or something. No, it's real gettable. You just have to be willing to get it. Whose reasonable assertions are being attacked by dumbasses. Now, where have you gotten any evidence that I think I'm the only one? When I have responded to the rope theory, I've responded to the stupid, whatever it is, thunderbolts. I've responded to the Ken Wheeler. I've responded to the Science League guy, and in a sense I've responded to you in the sense that, well, yes, I'm not doing chemistry here, so I'm not doing the nature of tornadoes and the temperature of water molecules and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not opposed to that eventually, but yeah, I'm trying to get something accomplished here, and I'm not going to get it accomplished starting to get into the subject of chemistry, because that's one subject away from the physics that I'm trying to get to. I mean, sorry, but yeah, that's I only have so many hours in the day, but this, you see if you can't understand why I just find it obnoxious that you would tell me how to do this, like you're doing it right, when you're failing just as dismally as I am in avoiding wasting your time having conversations with trolls. So exactly how have you upped your game? Should I give you advice? Wash your foreskin. Alright. Reasonable assertions are being attacked by dumbasses, brain-dead trolls. In the comments on the previous video, you posted this link to a discussion. I posted this link to a discussion on Usenet. And I don't even get this whole idea of, well, anyway, Usenet is, I mean, you've got to figure anybody who can't do better than that. Why would people have, it's like saying, buy yourself a stagecoach, and learn some blacksmithing skills. No, I don't think I will. So I don't think I'd even want to go near a forum. It's just defined itself as weird, traditionalist, archaic weirdos who, like to do things the hard way. That doesn't sound like somebody who's going to be anything other than a troll. Alright, yes, it involves a simple question which you addressed in passing. Well, again, you want me to address all the chemistry of the water molecule. Well, gee, that's a kind of you might want to study that for about a week, Anyway. But there is a larger issue that you missed. Yes, I certainly must have missed it. I didn't read this before, actually. I just responded to that first paragraph. Meteorologists and trolls want us to believe that H2O in the atmosphere magically defies its known boiling point and is gaseous H2O. The whole point of saying gaseous is such a mistake anyway. Right? I mean, molecules should be called, molecules that are made up of more than one element probably shouldn't be called gases. They probably should be called what they are, which is vapors. But anyway, I'm saying that this is complete nonsense that has more to do with superstition than it does fact. Alright, magically defies its known boiling point and is gaseous H2O. Look, the thing that's complicated about this that I guess we're disagreeing about, if we're going to have a disagreement, would be the notion that in ideal circumstances versus unideal, and the fact that it's just about probabilities again. So there's a certain probabilistic fact that certain pieces of the water vapor in this circle are actually doing the solid thing at this moment. Now they won't stay that way very long because of the thermodynamics, but they do form a solid molecule. They do stick together in the solid molecule form. All right, but they're not the vapor, the collective is still 95% or 98% not a solid. And some of it might be a liquid even. So, you know, I'm just saying that all you're talking about is that the ideal state for the molecule at that temperature, the state that takes the least energy to maintain, is one state. The fact that more energy could be in one localized area and causing something else isn't a negated fact. But I agree with you that for the purposes of having a conversation, you would say it's a gas. All right. There is no gaseous H2O in the atmosphere. There is no gaseous H2O in the atmosphere. Now, that's a bold statement. So, that's really weird. Yeah, no, that's, you just said there's UFOs. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement. The atmosphere is way too cool for the pressure, and the pressure is way too high for there to be any, well, we know the pressure isn't high up there, so that doesn't really work. There is no, I mean, yeah, we're probably going to disagree. The atmosphere is way too cool and the pressure is way too high for there to be any gaseous H2O in the Earth's atmosphere. A lot of places you go higher and higher, the humidity goes down, but as it turns into ice. Yeah, it is and only can be vapor. Well, see, this is the tricky part. What's the difference between, the stupid chart you have a link to? Doesn't deal with it. It calls gas and vapor the same thing. Liquid micro droplets that are suspended between air molecules. That's, you can say that, but I'm saying I don't think there's too much evidence that you can actually do that. Suspend liquid water in in oxygen or nitrogen or any of those any of the gases that make up the elemental gases that make up the universe. I mean the atmosphere. Shit. Oh, I didn't think I was going to get stuck in this stuff. So this is going to be a science video after all. These retards would have us believe that the fact that clear moist air proves it is gaseous. I think the fact only proves that the micro droplets have a diameter that is smaller than the length of a photon. Oh, that's getting dicey, and therefore are just as invisible as molecular H2O. Well, I think obviously to be a liquid there's got to be at least two molecules in a bond, and I don't think the length of two molecules of water is going to be, the width of it would be less than a photon, but whatever. The notion that water is prone to existing in two different phases in close proximity to one another is cartoonishly ignorant. I don't think that's true either. Of the high heat capacity of high heat conductivity of H2O. Well, I'll agree that water isn't much of an insulator, but it can't get hot until you vaporize it. I mean, obviously, it doesn't get any, water won't get any hotter in a liquid state. It has to be turned into a vapor to get hotter. I mean, it just stays the boiling point. And you fell for the troll argument. I didn't fall for anything. In a sense, I just read the chart, idiot. I said this is how I understand the charts. You just follow the lines and you're in a region where it's likely going to be that. Meteorology has a taboo about discussing this subject because their models of storms depend on the absorption of gaseous H2O. Otherwise, their model fails to explain how water gets high in the atmosphere. Oh, man. Well, the whole convection thing. So again, this guy has tornado theories and such. So, you know, I don't know what to say. That yes, you know, I don't think there's a problem for getting high in the atmosphere, considering it's, you know, a density argument. But whatever. So anyway, I said, you post off-topic shit on my video and give me a lecture? Fuck you. So, you know, I'm just saying, fuck this. Okay, you posted the link, you posted the comment, I responded to the comment, which I guess I shouldn't have, in just an honest way, just saying, okay, well, you asked the question, how would I read the chart? This is how I would read it. And then you give me shit about how I should go look for other cranks to have arguments with? No. I don't mind. If you want to point me to other cranks, fine. I'll go look at their cranky shit. But the truth is, you know, it's like false messiahs. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I already think I have the right answer. Why would I go looking for the cranks that have the wrong answer? And if you want to show me a crank, why don't you show me a crank that actually makes a good argument against conventional physics instead of the shitty arguments the Thunderbolts project makes? You know, where they complain about Einstein's math because it's dependent on two bodies existing. Because, yes, in fact, gravity is induced and you have to have another body in the equation or there's no gravity. It's actually a sort of a fact. I mean, no gravity beyond what's created by its own mass. Well, I don't want to get into that. Okay, so then he says to me, fuck you, bubble boy, who thinks he is the only person in the world to ever make a scientific discovery. So again, you keep saying that I think this, yet I keep citing other people. I keep, you know, you know, I'm saying, you know, what do you want me to, there's no argument to be had with you. I mean, I'm not the one saying what can I? How else do I say? Well, yes, it's true. I believe I'm right. Okay, that I have discovered something. So I'm definitely a person who has discovered something that's true. Now you're telling me there's a bunch of other people that have discovered these truths. Well, go ahead and link me to them. I know it's not Ken Wheeler, and I'm pretty sure the Scientific League guy doesn't have the right answer either because he's looking for the same kind of bibbly-babbly, wavily bullshit. He's another Tesla kook, pretty much. So where's your other examples of somebody doing it right? Because, yeah, I'm saying I'm the Messiah. You know, yeah, it just happened to turn out that way. I have a theory, and I think it's right, and it's completely opposite of what they say the truth is. That's right. So, yes, I've made a scientific discovery. Just, yes, that's I can only conclude that's what I have done. It's all about you, isn't it? So because I acknowledge that I have made a scientific discovery and I do what somebody who has done that should do, which is raise my hand and say, I made a scientific discovery, it's all about me. You self-centered spoiled child. Again, I'm not the one posting on your video about subjects that aren't related to your tornado shit, am I? No. Why don't you throw a pity party so you can wallow away into obscurity? You know, whatever. If I deserve obscurity because I merely say I'm talking about my discovery, not your discovery, that's what I'm doing here on this channel, is talking about my discovery. And I don't go searching the Ken Wheeler loop-de-doos every day. I don't sit there and just search and search and search and see if I can find some other loop-de-doer who's actually saying something reasonable. Well, I haven't found any. So again, if you can point me to the loop-de-doers that have it right, then okay, I'll go check it out. But, you know, I'm not throwing a pity party because I'm not going to waste my time doing that. And it seems like you're the one all butthurt because, yeah, I have an agenda that's not, gee, James, I love your tornado theory. That's not my agenda. I'm just sitting here trying to do my thing, not trying to do your thing. I didn't post on your video. Jesus. Alright, he can't wallow away into what he's already in. Right. This hypocrisy reigns guy. Here's another just troll, so we'll just get rid of him. Yes, and I'm in it for what? Good reason? No. And that will be found out. And then all of you people, male, sentient, void, all these fake names, if we never find out who these people really are, then you can explain why you were so fucking wrong. You know, they're sitting there trolling and harassing the guy who was right. For what reason? Laughing my ass off. This is pure comedy. Well, if that's your definition of pure comedy, then yeah, that's almost as bad as believing in God. You have a pretty, you know, if that's pureness, if that's the real funny stuff, yeah, you're not doing life right at all. Alright, so this, I like this comment in a way. There is upcoming eclipse on 8/22, in the US, and NASA encourages hobby astronomers. So NASA, who's not a hobby astronomer, right? They're supposed to be professionals. They won't replicate Eddington's experiment, even though they have all the technology and all the, you know, King's Men and all that shit. They got all that shit, man. They got more shit. They could just do it with spare parts. They got so much shit. They don't bother doing it. But they think the hobbyists should do it because they'll do it wrong, of course, and that's what we want, is another badly done experiment proving something important. Because that's the way you prove the important stuff, is do the experiment badly. Yeah, that's the real smell of victory, like napalm. To replicate Eddington's observations of 1919. I'm curious about the outcome. Yes, you know, Thunderfoot's doing it, right? He's going to go, he's already done all this traveling to all these locations to check it out. Like, this is all so fucking important to these people. And they're all going to sit on their little mountains with their little, you know, personal telescopes. And certainly it would be great because, you know, if you could just do the GPS thing and you could get the images from the people at different locations, and then you could get you could just make a video out of that. And you could get the proof one way or the other. But no one's organizing anything like that because that would be too rational. But yeah, you know, Thunderfoot's going all the way over, doing all this crap so he can video the shadow. That's what's really important, right? The shadow. Oh, look, it's cool. Look at the shadow. I mean, I mean, shit. I mean, that's, you know, there's a sale on Cabbage Patch dolls at Walmart on the same day. So exciting. Sorry. Not even close. So yeah, you know, 21 days or whatever. Now we got 20. Now we got 18 days to get people to say, why aren't they doing this seriously? Yeah, there's got to be an observatory somewhere between Seattle and whatever, Wyoming, whatever the path of this thing is. They can't do the Eddington experiment. It's going to be right under the big giant telescope. Time to do it. So anyway, just disgusting. So what do you know, I'd like to bet, you know, or something. We should have a pool or something. You know, will Eddington's observations be confirmed by anyone who's not a complete fuck-up? Yeah. So I think that's it for those comments. So then we can do a little bit of Piro's comment section. Yes, it appears to be. There should have been another. James McGrin guy did post another comment, but it must be gone. You know, he just posted something, thank you, blah, 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 and I was like, well, you know, so now he's thanking me for posting, and he was just so rude. So maybe he deleted his own comment. So he basically said something like, let me check the spam folder. Somebody might have spammed him. It doesn't look like it. No, so he must have deleted it. Alright, so, but he wanted to get to the particulars of this whole, he must have added it to this comment. It doesn't say it was edited, though. Very strange. Very strange. Well, anyway, seems to me something happened there. But I guess I won't worry about it. Yeah, it seems to me a comment is missing. Alright. Let me just make sure there was nothing about it that was something I got to respond to. Somehow I was missing the point of what he was asking. And the expectation, too, that I would go read that entire thread about this stupid argument he's having about what the chart says, when he's really not arguing about what the chart says. He's arguing about something more complicated, which is whether or not those conditions can exist in the atmosphere, which, you know, is a different argument, mostly. Yeah. Alright, so I guess we'll start here. I just find it fascinating that these things can be explained to him over and over again, yet nothing's been explained to him. You have your insane rationalizations, but you've explained nothing. Yet he never catches on. So again, there's no detail in this tripe. Doesn't matter how many times it's explained, so he says the same thing again. Nothing was explained. There's no facts. What facts did you give? What fact did you show demonstrating that going the extra distance to get to the future, taking the same line as the baseball, the baseball has to go faster to get there, and you say the photon doesn't? That's your argument. That's explaining something? No, it explains nothing. You know, Puro made some kind of, maybe it's on here, so we'll get to it. Let me see how much time I got. Ooh, getting close. Alright, the dispute is about okay, so the James guy gets, jumps. Well, anyways, explain to him how many facts are given and accurately it's presented. How articulately it's presented. Amazing. He thinks he's been articulate in explaining how you go a longer distance at the same slow speed. You can't do it. That's what the real universe does. We're not talking about your perception. We're talking about what happens in the real universe and how you can make that possible. And the only way you make that possible is you're saying you contracted space in your frame. And then you keep saying these frames don't mean anything, yet you contracted space. Actual absolute space got contracted. And that somehow the outside observer didn't see the absolute space get contracted. Yeah, right. I don't know what you're talking about. There is no dispute about facts. The dispute is about his interpretations of facts into a comprehensive theory. Gary's interpretation removes magic. The rest of you, it seems, have an emotional attachment to magic. Yes, that's enough for now. Why do you think tons are not magic? So again, Puro thinks anything you ever developed as a theory of the universe, even if it was a checkerboard, whatever, any physical thing as being a as a property, just the way it is, then that's magic. So fields, you can have whole fields with incredibly complex properties and rules. You can have bent space, properties, rules. That stuff doesn't have to have any accountability. But if you suggest something travels a set constant speed, oh no, you can't do that. I don't know, he says. Gary denies a lot of facts. Like what? Like how the speed of light works. So Puro says he knows how the speed of light works. Ooh, yeah. Why don't I think so? Oh, that's right, because he talks shit. He obviously doesn't know shit about light. Alright, Pyro, why do you think tons are not magic? I don't know. Jim, that complaint can't be leveled at all assumptions. Yes, can be. It's useless. That's exactly. I should have just said that. The appeal to, the fallacy of your mama wears army boots. If Gary stated that the provable fact, then your complaint would be valor. Boy, that's not written too good. I typed too fast there. Gary denies a lot of facts, like how the speed of light works. Jim, all I'm saying is that he is a different hypothesis. For example, he says the reason light is slower moving through glass is because it's taking a longer path. I don't know if that's true, but it's an explanation that does make sense to me. No, it's actually the conventional physics actually believes that as well, so that's not one under dispute. Alright, chemo embryo fuckhead. In Gary's mind, the speed of light is about as subjective as his disdain for mayonnaise. It's ridiculous. Well, frankly, there's lots of good reasons to think mayonnaise is a silly human contrivance. It's unhealthy, retard. So people should have some caution about spreading death on their food. But anyway, that's completely different than this idea of somehow it's subjective. I'm the one saying it has an absolute speed. I don't know how he turned that into a subjective thing, but whatever. Whatever screams over people the loudest wins equals Gary's equation. So again, nothing that could ever be based on any kind of thoughtful analysis of anything. I mean, 99% of my videos I'm not screaming, so it's just more whining, you know, from sickos. Alright, Piro. Gary says that if you shoot a laser from one side of an airplane to another, then the plane is at rest. When the plane is at rest, the laser will hit a particular spot. But if you are flying at 1,000 miles per hour, it will not. Yes, that's true. It will hit a spot behind that. Yes, that's true. Because the light doesn't care about where the emitter is. Einstein said that. The way light fires has been measured to much more accuracy than needed to see that that is not the case. So he's making a statement, just like the lensing argument. We have a ton of evidence. We've proven it. It's lensing. It's proven, proven, proven. No. So the way light fires, it says, has been measured. So that doesn't even make any sense. The way light fires has been measured to much more accuracy than needed to see that that is not true. Needed to see that that is not true. So you could at least put a comma between his double that's. Not the case. Alright, so I'm just saying, cite the experiment. Go ahead, show me where they took a laser and they did the experiment. And you say they can measure it to the accuracy necessary. They shot a laser across the 15 feet of an airplane and measured, they could measure accurately the fact that the beam went forward, that it carried the extra momentum, that somehow it moved to where the target was. The light left, saw the target was getting away and went forward to it, and it went at, oh, that's right, it can't do that because it has to go faster than the speed of light to get there. So show me the experiment. There are a million examples. So another, just this claim. There's millions of photos of lensing. Yeah, none of them make one single bit of rational sense. And also, I find it interesting. It has it as if you watched Gary, you would say Gary doesn't say his theory is factual. What? It's as if you've watched Gary. Oh, man. So there are many examples, period. That should probably be a new sentence he starts now. And also, I find it interesting. It, as if you've watched Gary, but you say Gary doesn't say his theory is factual. Question mark. What? No. Complete gibberish. Alright, why did Gary say that? What was the context? So, yeah, and where did I say it? So this is the point. I mean, Piro's just, he's just a compulsive liar. He can't accurately paraphrase a single fucking thing anybody ever says. And that's the tactic he uses in his videos. He just creates these fucking straw men over and over and over. Every argument he makes is just full of little fake straw men. He thinks there is an absolute rest frame. Yes, I think there's things that can go no speed. Yes. Gary thinks if your spaceship is going half the speed of light and you fire a flashlight, the light will seem to go away at half the speed of light. No, I'm not talking about what it seems. That's the whole point. So you've never gotten this, you can't get this right because your philosophy doesn't allow for it, because you don't think there's anything called the truth. I'm arguing what actually happens. I'm not arguing about your stupid seem shit. Certainly, if I time dilate you so you only see one frame every 2 days, then it will look like light's going the regular speed. But if I don't time dilate you, the point is, what is light actually doing? And if I'm going half the speed of light and I shine light ahead of me, the truth is, me and the light, okay, are both going the same way. So the light can't escape me at the speed of light. It will not escape me in the same timing cycle as the speed of light. It will escape me at half that because I'm going already half the speed. That's a relative argument, idiot. You have to recognize that you already have a history, and the history is significant. So it's just like the argument, their stupid argument about baseballs and all the rest of this stuff. They're the ones that keep saying light somehow overcomes the limitations of being a constant. And it can't overcome it. It's a constant. It goes a certain amount of distance in a certain amount of time. And if I'm doing half that distance in the same amount of time, there's no possible way the light can still go away from me at the extra distance. That's the fact. Fuck. So he doesn't accept Einstein's theories? Yes, correct. I don't accept them as accurate descriptions of reality. That's right. There's no bent space. The whole thing, there's no fucking time dimension. It's just nonsense. Time is just a function. Alright. To be serious chimed in. And of course, not on the subject though. I use Chuck It, a ball launcher for my dog. It increases my reach and distance that the ball goes. Yeah, I mean, yes, Pierrot does throw like a girl. He does have girly arms, so maybe he should get a little girly ball thrower. Okay. Shit. So, just disgusting. There was another Pierrot comment that was just a bit priceless. Let me just see before I run out of time. I'm a skeptic. I said constantly a decade here and longer that I believe our ideas of truth are theories. So he doesn't think there's any idea that's correct and an idea that's incorrect. He just thinks they're all the same. There's no real truth here. Gary thinks his idea is absolute fact. Yes, I think I'm right. That's why I'm opening my mouth and saying it. It's because I think I'm right. If I didn't think I was right, I wouldn't say anything, because there's no point then, because I don't even think I'm right. So why would I say anything, you stupid cunt? But you can't tell that, whatever that means. That's the part I'm finding interesting. So it's all about what Pierrot finds interesting. Again, it's just not. There's nothing at stake here. No. He's just such a disgusting creature. I despise him intensely now. Alright, logical imperialist, another idiot. I keep up with every video of Emendum. It takes a lot of time, and sometimes I wonder why I do that. I guess Gary is family. If I want that or not. When he speaks, I easily go to sleep. Well, it's all nice, which is part of the reason I listen. I also vote down almost every Emendum video since he blocked me and others. He needs some feedback that we are not on his page blocking people, whatever. I don't have to, like I said, I don't have to be your friend. So these people are upset because I won't be their friend. This is pathetic. Let's see. His physics channel gives better arguments for anti-nihilism than his main channel. Let's see. Here we go. Gary believes, this is the chemo guy again. Gary believes he'll reach a point where he can view absolute reality through an objective lens. Sorry, evolution in mind, I thought. Out of the cosmos itself, time never stops. So he's another guy who has his own theory, apparently. Nothing stays the same forever. Well, I don't know what that means, but duh. he'll never and can never reach that, whatever that is. I live in an objective brain 24/7 reality that he desperately desires. Again, I'd say yes, I would like to be a perfect Mr. Spock and not react to you assholes, but that's frankly not the biggest liability here. The problem is you are an asshole. That's the problem. The problem isn't me. The problem is you. You suck. I'm doing very well, considering. All things considered. Or maybe he's convinced himself that he already does live in that reality. Who knows? Well, whatever. Like, that's something meaningless. Whether or not you think... I don't even know... So anyway, James says, wow, you sure read between the lines. I thought Gary was just presenting a hypothesis. Yeah, it's probably more than a hypothesis, but whatever. Yes, it's some kind of theory. Anyway, so then the Hayden guy, James McGreen, gets into another fight with other people. Let's see, MSV, hilarious, right. He talks about suffering, etc., while at the same time being one of the most hateful people I've ever witnessed. Ooh, what a horror. He said he'd kill a woman who had a baby. So I had his baby. So this is a context, right? So they just keep lying about all this stuff. And I said that there's contracts you make with people in life. Like, you could have somebody babysit your kids, and then you find out the babysitter raped your daughter. And you'd say that was a violation of your trust. Like, say it was your best friend. Reasonable people could disagree over whether, yeah, the only appropriate reaction is to kill the fucker. I mean, that's what he deserves. And so I'm saying that there's nothing more trust involved in the intimate relationship, in my opinion, between a man and a woman. Now, maybe you have casual relationships, but I don't. I don't have one-night stands where I don't even ask, what's your sexual history or any of that shit. I don't do that. And if I have a relationship with a woman, then it's going to be one where a lot of stuff is spelled out about who I am and what I believe and what I care about. And you either accept that or we just go our separate ways, because that's the way it's got to be played. I got to know who you are, you got to know who I am, and we got to be okay with that. And so what I'm saying is that I would treat a woman like I would treat a man who, let's say, was going to rape my daughter. I'm going to say to the woman, I'm making a contract, and this is vitally important to me, that I not make kids. And if it isn't vitally important to you, and you don't understand how vital it is, you don't think my daughter's virginity is important, or something like that, then yes, I have a right to say fuck you and throw you down the stairs. If we make a contract and you overtly violate